That is a bit triggering. Let's try and hide those. Much better. Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and I've been using this for a little over a year now since it came out, and I absolutely love it. I really do. It's my best friend. I do everything on this, from watching Netflix shows and movies when I'm traveling because we've got this mini LED display. I edit all my videos, including this one, on here in Premiere Pro. And actually this is 4K 60, 10-bit, 444 sampling, so pretty demanding files, and it barely breaks a sweat. Although actually it does get quite warm underneath and makes my legs sweat if I'm editing on my lap. So there is definitely room for improvement, but I think the MacBook Pro 16, as well as its smaller brother, the MacBook Pro 14, are the two best productivity laptops you can buy. Yes, they are expensive, there are some shortcomings and areas for improvement, and not everyone loves macOS, fair enough, but for me, these are as close as you're gonna get to the perfect laptop. But that's why, even though I'm already pretty satisfied with these, I'm excited to see what the new 2023 M2 powered MacBook Pros will offer. Will it be a big upgrade? So when are they coming out? What do we know so far? And will it actually be worth the upgrade? Well, bear in mind, nothing is confirmed yet, but my best guess will be early 2023, probably around March. Far enough ahead of WWDC because they're gonna probably release some other hardware there as well. Possibly the elusive AR headset, which we keep hearing murmurings about, but probably not. So the headline upgrade for these will undoubtedly be the M2 chip. Currently we have the M1 Pro and the M1 Max, so an M2 Pro and M2 Max aren't beyond the realms of possibility. Particularly as the MacBook Air had the M2 makeover back in June, which actually it was quite a big upgrade, although not really because of the chip. We were looking at sort of 15 to 25% performance boost over the M1 powered Air, which is still on sale, and actually I think still better value for money. If you do just want a thin and light laptop, they do pretty much the same thing. Really, it was the design, the webcam, MagSafe, and a few other sort of nice to haves that made this a worthwhile upgrade. Not necessarily the jump to M2. Well, giving us a glimpse at what these next-gen Pros may be capable of, this apparent M2 Max Geekbench shows versus my current MacBook Pro 16 with the M1 Max, we're looking at around a 15% boost, which is higher than the 7 or 8 we saw in a previous leaked benchmark, and I'm sure Apple is continuing to optimize the chip. Best case scenario with the 2 extra cores, the higher clock speed, and the 50% more RAM, I reckon we're looking at about a 20% boost over the current M1 Max MacBook Pro. To be fair, Geekbench is not the best benchmark out there. It's a very narrow slice of performance, sort of focusing on the processor. It doesn't take into account the graphics, the AI, the media engine, sort of Mac optimizations, or even the battery life and the efficiency of the chip. And of course, with the current MacBook Pros, the M1 Pro and Max chips share basically the same processor. It's the graphics, the memory bandwidth, and also a more powerful media engine that separates it, none of which Geekbench can really show off. So far at least, it doesn't look like it's going to be the same revolutionary upgrade that it was going from Intel to M1. And it is this TOC upgrade, the TikTok cycle, with the TOC being sort of the refinement and the smaller boost, that we are seeing both on the Air with the M2, the new iPad Pros with the M2, which frankly are not much better at all really. There's not much of a significant improvement, and also potentially what we might see with the new Pro laptops. But there is still a lot we don't know. For instance, the current MacBook Pros use Samsung's LPDDR5 RAM with up to 200 gigabytes per second of bandwidth on the Pro and 400 on the Max, but next-gen laptops could come with the latest LPDDR5X RAM with up to 33% more bandwidth and also 20% less power consumption. Again though, a lot of these potential performance upgrades may be kind of hard to notice in everyday use. These are already ridiculously powerful laptops, and that's credit to Apple really, but unless you're a Disney Pixar animator or you are a super high-end pro user, and I can already imagine Apple's marketing team hard at work making those sexy promo videos telling you how the new MacBook Pro M2 with an M2 Max can have, I don't know, 50, 8K, HDR, 60 FPS ProRes streams in Final Cut Pro at the same time, while also blendering and FaceTiming and watching Apple TV and all those things. Stuff that is technically very impressive, but I just don't know how many people actually can utilize. Am I really complaining about having too much power? This doesn't seem right. This video is brought to you by the Insta360 Link, one of the most advanced and versatile webcams you can buy. And the AI-powered 4K camera has a 3-axis gimbal stabilizer built in, which means it's smooth, it can track you, and give you a whole range of different mode options. And you simply connect it via USB-C, which also powers the webcam, and they do also bundle a USB-C to A adapter in the box. And if you do want to take your Insta360 Link to the next level, then you can also buy the mini 2-in-1 tripod, which connects easily to the 1/4-inch mounting point on the bottom. So this is being recorded on the M2 MacBook Air, and it's one of the better webcams you can get on a laptop, but let's see how it compares with the Insta360 Link. Wow, look at the difference. This is on the Insta360 Link, both the video and the audio, so see if you can hear much of a difference as well with the microphone. But the video quality is night and day difference. I mean, if you're doing lots of video calls, even streaming, then this is going to be definitely worth the upgrade. But there's way more to this than meets the eye. We also have AI tracking, gesture controls, a range of different modes from desk view to whiteboard to overhead and even portrait for verticals. There's built-in privacy protection, and in terms of just sheer quality with the 4K resolution, the large sensor, the HDR mode, the AI noise reduction, this is without a doubt one of the most versatile and impressive webcams you can buy. And if you do fancy checking out the Insta360 Link, then click my link in the description below. Now, if Leak's Apple Pro's tweet is anything to go by, the performance will be worth the wait. He predicts better speeds, as well as better battery and less heat. And I will take less heat because while most of the time this is blissfully cool and quiet, when I am editing or exporting a video or doing something a bit more demanding, it can warm up and get quite toasty underneath. But if efficiency is the name of the game, which it does seem to be so far in terms of the M2 chips, then I'm fine with that as well. I mean, if we can get 20% more performance, if we get an extra couple hours of battery life perhaps, and if we can get less heat, that would be a nice little upgrade. No design or I/O changes though, apparently. And as much as I do love a refresh, and the idea of a dynamic island on my MacBook would be pretty cool, and also the 16 in particular is quite a hefty laptop, you definitely feel it in your backpack carrying it around all day. But considering these launched in late 2021 and were themselves a pretty major overhaul for the design, the screen, and the ports, I think realistically we could see Wi-Fi 6E added. We saw it with the M2 powered new iPad Pros, although of course you will need a 6E compatible router as well. But I do also have my fingers crossed for maybe a couple of new colors. I would love a starlight or a midnight version of the Pro 14 and 16. I know these are pro laptops and professionals have to be boring and love silver or gray, but cool, that would look nice in midnight, wouldn't it? Although, having said that, if I get my midnight MacBook Air M2, it does pick up fingerprints and smudges quite a lot. But let me put on my serious consumer advice hat just for a second and talk about value for money, because I still maintain, as nice as the new M2 is, a little bit more powerful, a little bit more refined, for $999, I think if you want a slim and light laptop that does everything you need, the M1 MacBook Air, even though it's a couple of years old, is still definitely the best option to go for. And if you do need more power and some of the higher end features, then get yourself the MacBook Pro 14 instead. For me, the M2 Air is just a bit too expensive, especially when you up the spec maybe to 16 gigs of RAM or 512 storage. So nice refinement, but I still prefer the old model. And it's a similar story with the new iPads. We've got the new M2 powered Pros, the 11 and 12/9. It's the best tablet you can buy in my opinion, but the new models added Wi-Fi 6E, the Apple Pencil hover feature, and the slightly more powerful M2 chips. Nothing really that significant, and it's a lot more expensive, particularly outside the US. I recently made a big iPad buying guide, which I'll link to up there if you fancy watching afterwards, but my conclusion was that roughly if you can get the last generation iPad Air, or even in particular the Pros, it's a much better choice, much better value option than going for the new models. 2 out of 3 times so far, we're seeing the older version still offering the best bang for buck, and it could again be the case with the MacBook Pros. We don't have pricing yet, but I would expect, given the trend we're seeing, particularly with the iPads, that these will become even more expensive and will top out an even higher price, especially if you get the sort of top spec 96 gigs of RAM version with the M2 Max and 8 terabytes of storage, and probably just not worth it for most of us. But if I could give Tim and Craig a sensible wish list for my next gen MacBook Pro, I would ask for 20-25% better performance. I would also appreciate if it didn't get quite as hot. I'd love a midnight version of this or just some other color options as well. Wi-Fi 6E would be nice, maybe a little bit lighter, if that's possible. This is still quite chunky. But to wrap this up, if you are considering upgrading, and also you're weighing up whether to wait for the new Pros, I mean, given that it's only going to be a couple of months, I guess there's no harm in waiting and seeing what happens, and there's a chance that then you'll be able to get one of these current models on a discount or a sale or secondhand potentially. But if you are still rocking an older Intel-powered MacBook, don't wait for that, just get one of these right now. And quite honestly, this does more than I need. I am so happy with my MacBook Pro 16 and also the 14, but also consider if you are looking to get the best possible performance and that is important to you and the prospect of 96 gigabytes of RAM, then maybe it's actually worth waiting for the new Mac Pros, which are definitely due a refresh, and I cannot wait to see what an M2 Ultra powered Mac Pro desktop that's fully unlocked and has no thermal headroom could achieve. But what about you? What would you love to see in the new MacBook Pros that could tempt you to upgrade? Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.